What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar here with C-Zar Gets Crypto. We're going to look at Bitcoin today. We're going to actually look at some really exciting stuff with Bitcoin. It's going to be a long-term outlook. We're going to look at the long-term view for Bitcoin for sure. But today I've got the long-term RSI. We can see here in the white. I've got the short-term in the orange, but I don't think that's going to be relevant because what we're talking about is actually something a little bit more time-based. We don't really need maybe we can look at the RSIs, but for now we're not going to. So to pull up this chart, you go to Trading View, BTC USD, go to the index, boom, you got it. I like to have it in log. It just makes it better. I'm not going to explain why. I'll explain why. If it's regular, look at this chart, right? You can see it. You know, it looks a little bit more janky. But if you get the log in, the reason why this log makes the chart look better rounded off like this is because basically, essentially what it's doing is, think about it in terms like this, right? If we have a stock, a crypto, or whatever that's at $1, goes to $2, that's a 100% move up, right? But now if you have $2 and you go to $4, that's also a 100% move up. But from 1 to 2 is 100, but from 1 to 4 is a 300% move. But 2 to 4 is also 100% move. Long story short, it smooths everything out so that you're still getting the same ratios in proportion to the price growth. I hope that makes sense. If not, if I haven't lost you already, we're about to get into the exciting stuff. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is the next bull cycle. When we can expect it to happen potentially, when we can expect it to end, and maybe even when we can expect to break our previous all-time highs. None of this is guaranteed. This is not a prophecy, as I like to say. This is not a prophecy. I can be wrong, and I will be wrong again. It's happened before. It will happen again. I'm new at this shit. You know, I'm like 5 years into this shit, so I will be wrong. I've got a whole lifetime of being wrong, man. But right now, we're gonna get into previous things that have happened in the history of Bitcoin. So let's start right here. We can see on the index here. You can write again, BTC USD. It's the all-time history index, as far as we know. This is as accurate as what we know. So if we want to go back, technically here, the very first low was all the way back. Ooh, let me see. It was all the way back here. Oops, that's not the right one. All the way back here. And I want to measure from the low points to the high points, see how long each bull phase lasted, okay? So we're going to do that. We're going to do that. So 8 bars here. We're on the monthly time frame. That makes it 8 months. We're going to measure the next one. I'm actually going to take all this. I'm going to have it. There we go. So the low point here, we go to the top. We can see 24 bars. That's 24 months. A little bit longer. We go to the low here. This was the first low, but really we got our second low. This is what kicked us off to the next bull run, and that lasted 28 bars. Things are expanding in a time frame sense. If we get, it's kind of hard to see, but if we get here, this is the, oops, that's not the low. If we get the low here, oh man, I'm in trouble. Let's see. There we go. Maybe. No. All right, whatever. Okay, so this one actually should have been here, right there, and the top is at there, 35 bars. So we've got 8 bars, 24 bars, 28 bars, 35 bars. Some people might say that the top was actually all the way back here, and that we had a 28 bar, you know, I mean, it's kind of eerie, right, that you got 2 28 bars back to back. They're all kind of near each other. But let's be technical. This is technical analysis after all, so let's be technical. Technically speaking, the all-time high, which to me is very significant, the all-time high, one of the most significant things to ever happen in any chart, is right there, okay? From the last cycle's lows to this all-time high, we're at 35 bars. It was an extended bull market each time. And this one was a little drawn out. It did not go up as high. We definitely had a lot smaller returns. This isn't really gonna talk about what the price could be. This video is all going to be about when we can expect things to happen. So taking this into consideration, you know, 8 bars, 24 bars, 28 bars, 35 bars. If this was the low, and I don't think it was, but if this was the low, when would we, you know, at the least maybe 20 bars, if it was a shorter kind of rally, we could see, I mean, if this was the low, we'd have our top in 20 bars. That'd be in January 2024. I don't think so. I don't think so, because, let's see, Bitcoin halving dates. I did this in a previous video. Let's see, where I went over all the halvings. The first halving happened the 28th of November in 2012. So that, the first halving would have been all the way, let's see, right here. I'm going to put a line here. I know I've got a lot going on, but just bear with me, y'all. November. And it was the end of November, but the first halving happened in November. A year before that, in November of 2011, here we are. This is actually the very beginning of the bull cycle, right? Actually, I guess October was the bottom, but November, a year before the halving date, that's the important part, was the beginning of this bull cycle. This was the actual halving date. You can see that we had a little bear market, but we continued to go through the halving. As the halving happened, we stalled a little bit, another key thing to remember, and then went up. We went up tremendously. The next Bitcoin halving date was July 9th, 2016. So let's do that. July 9th, 2016. Where are we at? July. So in the month of July, remember this is the monthly basis, so it's just going to be the whole month of July, but it happened in this bar here. July 9th, 2016. So what about July 2015? Where were we? Well, July 2015 was actually quite literally 1 month before the low of this bear cycle that kicked us off into, you know, so this one over here, it was 1 month after. This one here, it's 1 month prior. Okay, basically within a month's time frame of being around the start of the next bull cycle. So let's go to the next halving. We've had 3 so far. We're gonna have 4. And this one said, so our 4th one's gonna be between February and May. We're not there yet. 3rd one, 11th of May, 2020. So let's put a line there. 11th of May, 2020, right there. 11th of May. What happened in May of 2019? Well, this one, it's a little bit of an outlier, right? Because the bottom happened all the way back here in December. So January, February, March, April, May. That's 5 months prior. That is not within the range that we've set up so far. So that's 5 months prior. But you can see that a year out, you know, we went up still a little, you know, leading into this, we went up a little bit. I think people were buying an expectation that this halving, a year out from the halving, would be a good thing. And then as the halving approached, we kind of went down, we moved sideways, right? As the halving approached here, we kind of moved sideways. As the halving approached here, we kind of moved sideways. But inevitably, this was just a stall to what led us to our next bull phases. Every single one after the halving, it was great. Prior to the halving, within a year of that, I guess this one's the only outlier, but still a year to year and a half, we went above it. Okay. Our next halving is anywhere from February to May 2024. And I've seen places say it's June or July. We don't really know. It depends on the Bitcoin hash rate. Every day, Bitcoin produces a numerous amount of blocks. And once I forget what block it is that needs to be completed, there's a specific number for what block needs to be completed. I can't talk today. But once that block's completed, we'll have our 4th halving. So it's not actually a date. It's not a set date thing. It just depends on how much transactions are done, how much processing's done. And that is assumed to be between February to May of 2024. So let's just do that. So that's February right there, the halving, February. And then right here, May 2024. And I've even heard some places say June or July, but let's just say June, just for shits and grins. Let's just say June. So from February to June, somewhere in this time frame, we're going to have our next halving, which means 2023, a year before then, right? That would be, I'm going to put a line, I'm going to do different colored lines for this one, just so that we're aware of the difference. That one's yellow there. We can make them green even, maybe, I don't know. May, June, it's right there. I'm going to leave them yellow. So a year before the halving is traditionally, and give or take a month, is traditionally where we've seen it. We have had one instance where it was 5 months before. So if we're in February here, if we're in February, we look at this. Oops. We look at February. We go back 5 months, okay? That's 1 month in January, 2 months in December, 3 months in November, 4 months in October, and 5 months in September. Could we have had the bottom already? Potentially. But that would also mean if we had the bottom, then we would have had to have had the bottom 6 months, 7 months, 8 months before a year out of the halving. And not to mention, every time we've been a year out from the halving, roughly there, we start going up. We start going up, okay? We started going up. Here we've not been going up. To me, I don't think we're seeing the buying pressure from the halving coming out. Maybe we see 5 months, you know, or I guess we can't see 5 months, and that's from February. So actually, let's go back to June. Let's say it happens in June. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be January. Okay. If it happens in May, that's December. If it happens in April, that's November. That's next month. So that would be 5 months out. Could we see the bottom within those months? I think that's a lot more possible. I don't think we've seen the bottom yet. If we had, I think we would have been going up. We wouldn't be getting these bearish ass months with wicks to the upside and closing lower. In my opinion, we would. I mean, to be fair, we kept closing lower here even after the bottom, and then we went up. It's how it happens, you know. We didn't close lower here, and then we went up. We did close lower here, and then went up. And then here we did not close lower, and we went up. So it's, you know, it's 50-50. Take it or leave it. I guess by default, 50-50. If we went lower on the last cycle on a closing basis, this one we're not going to go lower probably. So the fact, what I'm trying to get at, the fact that these candles are closing lower is making me think that we are in fact going to go lower. Bitcoin does like to do things like this where we get a little, I'm gonna kind of blind everything here, where we get this double bottoming pattern. You get this double bottoming pattern here, little tweezer bottom here, double bottoming pattern, and then here you get a low and then another low point here. It's not really a double bottom by any means, but that was the first low, so it's kind of erratic. Anyways, is this a double bottom? I don't think so. Does it need to have a double bottom? No, absolutely not. Doesn't need to. But are we at the low point when at the earliest that the halving could be, which would be in February, would be 8 months prior? I think that's a bit extreme. And even if it was, where's the buying? If we were seeing buying for the halving, if we were seeing front running happening for the halving, where's the buying? I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't think anybody sees it. There's not a whole lot of volume going here. You know, we had a whole lot of volume here. We didn't have a whole lot of volume here, to be fair, but we had a whole lot of volume here. We had a whole lot of volume here. I don't know. Anyways, enough of that. So that right there is just measuring from the low points to the high points, and then showing that basically within a year, and okay, so basically within a year to at the most so far that we've seen, 5 months prior to a year of the next halving, we could see the markets find a low point, a bottom, at least for Bitcoin. Could we go outside those parameters? Yes. Will we go outside those parameters in the future? Probably. It's not a set in stone thing, but this is basing our future projections off of previous price action, because that's all we've got. You know, we're not going to say that it's exactly going to happen that way, but close to it. And in my opinion, going 8 months prior to a year out of the halving, I don't think that would give this bear market, when we have the weakest reads that we've had in the RSI ever on the long-term RSI, like literally, I'm going to delete all these lines now. When we've had the weakest reads that have ever happened on the monthly, on the long-term RSI, weakest reads that we've ever had on the monthly, on the short-term RSI, I don't think that that's the bottom yet. I don't think that's the bottom. And I say this a lot when I talk about the RSI. A lot of people think, oh, if it's the weakest reads, that's when you want to buy, right? I hear the logic behind that, but also it's the relative strength index. That's what this is. It's measuring the relative strength. And right now, our relative strength index is showing that we're showing weak price action. The weakest moves happen when we have the weakest readings. the weakest moves happen when we have the weakest readings, you know? And I don't think, we saw 1 month here that was red, but I think we're calling, being that we're at this low, I think we're calling for more, personally. That's just my thoughts. I can be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. Anyways, I deleted all the lines because now we were talking about being a year out from the halving, right? That's something to take into consideration. But I want to talk about when could we see the next all-time high? When could we? So remember, we established that if we were to be 5 months out from a year, we could see basically anywhere from November at the earliest all the way to January 2023. So November of this year, which is next month, we're actually 7 days away. Could be next month all the way up until January of 2023, if I can just move this properly, which would be right here. So very soon we could be finding the bottom. And that's if the halving was to happen between February or June of next year, which that's when it's set. It's not a set date, but it's going to happen somewhere in that range. And we were to hit it, and we were to find the bottom 5 months before, 5 months prior to that date. Well, a year and 5 months prior to that date. The halving is going to happen in 2024, not 2023. I'm sorry if I misled. This is all about being a year out, because that's whenever it starts. That's when the bear market's typically over. The bull market's typically beginning. I cannot speak today. I don't know what's wrong with me. I haven't had anything to drink or anything to smoke. I'm sober. I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyways, what I want to get to is the fact that what happens if it's not a year and 5 months prior to the halving that we start? What if it's a year? What if it's a year and 1 month? What if it's less than a year? What if it's 11 months? Because we've also seen that. So if the halving is going to happen in February of 2024 to June of 2024, I think earlier in this video I was saying it was going to happen in 2023. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. I did not mean to mislead anybody. That's a year out from the halving, which is the key level. That's what I'm trying to address, okay? I'm sorry. Didn't mean to mislead you guys. But if that was to happen, then, I mean, really, I guess I can move these lines over. Then what we're going to see is anything from, I would say, I guess, a month earlier than our projections would be January again, and then a month after our projections could be up to July. So we could see our lowest point in Bitcoin happening in 1, 2, 3 months, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, in as little as 3 to 9 months. I personally, and a lot of pros, whatever you want to call them in the space, are thinking that before the year's end, we are going to find our low point. There are some pros that think that we have already found our low point. I'm not a pro by any means. I'm not an expert. I don't think anybody's really an expert in crypto, at least. It's been around for 12 years. How can you call yourself an expert? I don't know. I guess you can call yourself an expert, but really, are you? I don't know. I'd be weary of those guys. But my opinion, my unexperted opinion, is that Bitcoin will find its bottom within the next month to 9 months. Honestly, it could literally happen as soon as next month. I doubt that it's already happened. If it did happen, that would be an immense outlier from the things that we've seen in the past. But it is coming. We are close. We are definitely close. And it could happen as late as 9 months out. I don't see that really happening personally. I don't really see that happening at all. But it could. It could. And I mean, could it even happen after that? It could happen. I mean, it could happen after that. It doesn't have to happen before. We had 5 months before. It could happen 5 months after. Who really knows? I'm going to delete these lines now. We're going to talk about when could we see. So that's when we could potentially see the bottom. Okay? We might potentially see the bottom in the next month to 9 months if we haven't seen it already. I don't think we have, but if we haven't seen it already, month to 9 months, and I'm leaning really toward month to 3 months, that we're going to find the bottom before the year is over, potentially. But now we're going to look at when can we see new all-time highs. New all-time highs. Sorry, it's so drawn out, but we're going to get into it. So now we're going to go from I guess we can take this as our first all-time high. I mean, if you went all the way from here, from right there, and then you drop 94%. I mean, given that this is 1, 2, 3, 4 months of Bitcoin's price action, let's just be let's be very technical with our technical analysis. That was our first all-time high right there. You know, this red month, this was our first all-time high. And then we came all the way down 94%. We came back and closed above it. You know, a month later we broke that all-time high, but I'm going to say that was our first all-time high. And I guess that doesn't really help with what I'm trying to deliver anyways. What we're really going to measure is when we had our all-time high. So even though that's there, it took a month to break it, okay? Which is kind of not relevant to us. That was, you know, the first one, whatever. This is the real first all-time high. Ignore what I was just saying. I mean, don't ignore it. That is the first all-time high, but because of the immense drop, I would say that. But really, I guess what we're going to do is start here. From this all-time high, I don't know what I was going on about. Sorry, guys. I'm a little confusing, I know. But we're going to measure from when we went to, let's see, from when our all-time high started. Oops, going backwards here. To the next time that we broke our all-time highs, okay? I promise you guys I have a point with this. Stick with me. I'm almost done here. We didn't break our all-time high until this candle here. You can see the high up here. It says H. It's got the H there. It's got the low there, the open, the close. Our high here was $34.52. Our high here was $31.91. So this month here, 20 months after our previous all-time high, was the month that we broke it. It's not the month that we set all-time highs. It's not these months, but it was the month that we broke it. I'm not going to include this, though that is a local peak. I'm going to include this because this whole run here, you can tell that this whole run didn't finish till here. So from this peak, we did not break our all-time highs until, let me see if we did it here. 1,158.95, 1,242. We did not break it that month. Oof, we broke it that month. Okay, so here, 40 bars, twice as long. 20 months, 40 months. From high till the break of the high, from high to the break of the high. It's not from high to high, it's from high to break of the high. When did we set new all-time highs? First time was 20 months, next time it took 40 months between highs. Let's go to our last one. We had a high point here at 19,804, and then here at 19,867, we broke the high. That was at 35 months. Okay. To me, this high and this high, just like the bear markets were kind of close to each other, they seem pretty relevant, in my opinion, or close. Maybe something better to base things off of. But what we have is another range. We have 20 at a minimum, 40 at the maximum, with 35 being somewhere in between. If we add all that up, 75, that's 95. 95 divided by 3, I mean, essentially, that's 31 point, I don't know, 31.75? No, is that right? 31.6? I don't know. 31, it's closer to 32 months than it is to 31 months. It'd be like 31.66 maybe. I don't, my math is not on point, but the average of these three would be around 31. It'd be closer to 32. I guess it'd be closer to 31 and a half than either of them, but we're going to say 32. It'd be closer to 32. So from this high to 32 months out could be, if we were to take the average, just the average, not off of things that we've seen before, because actually none of these have had 32 months to take. It's all been different numbers. But if we took the average, that would put us all the way out in July of 2024. That's kind of interesting, right? That's kind of interesting, because what else happens in 2024 around July, around February to June of 2024? Well, that's the next Bitcoin halving. And as we've seen before, 28th of November 2012, July 9th 2016, 11th of May 2020, we stalled out. We stalled out a little bit around these times. We stalled out a little bit around these times. We stalled out, I think it was actually over here. Yeah, we stalled out a little bit around these times. But it was in the beginning of this last leg up, this immense rally that started, right? We literally were, once we hit the halving, we moved sideways for a couple months. It's a big deal, but I think because everybody's expecting it to be such a big deal, we don't get big price action. It kind of psychs people out. But don't be fooled, because in the months to come, we saw some incredible growth. So here in July of 2024, you know, if we took the average, let's say at the earliest the halving happens in February, as it says, between February to May. Let's say it happens, and really I'm telling you February to June, but what do I know? Let's say it happens in February. So if it happens in February, if our halving happens in February, then May, June, July of 2024, that's 3 months of potentially chilling. That's a quarter of a year of just chilling, right? That fits the narrative that we've been going with. And then maybe we break previous all-time highs. And we wouldn't be chilling down here because, again, a year, I know I'm going all over the place, man, but a year, bear with me. A year from the halving would be here, potentially, somewhere in like this time frame, I guess, yeah, February to, we're going to say June, right? Somewhere in here is a year away from the halving. And then at the earliest, the halving isn't going to happen until here. So if we were to chill from, and I'm going to change the color of this line to maybe make it easier on the eyes. If we were to chill in the white zone for a few months, February, March, April, May, June, July, 5 months. I don't know why I did 3 months before. February, May, June, July. Wow. I forgot about March and April. Man, I swear I'm sober, guys. I don't know what's wrong with me. February, March, April, May, June, July. That's 5 months. That's almost half a year. Man, I'm bad. I could have bloopers on this one, I swear to God. But what I'm trying to say is we are probably going to find our bottom around this time, if not, in my opinion, likely before this time. And we're going to start going up in between this yellow zone and this white zone. We're going to start going up in between there. Are we going to break out of all-time highs? I doubt it. I doubt it, because if we were to break out all-time highs before we hit that white zone, that would be 27 bars. And we have seen, you know, 20 bars before. We've seen less than 35 bars before. But if we were to take the average, that's a little bit away from the average. And I mean, it's not that it's impossible to happen, but I doubt it. You know, could it happen even before then? Could it happen over here? I doubt it. If it happened in June of 2023, that would be the earliest that we've seen a previous all-time high being broken, and I just don't see that happening. So anyways, what I think is very likely is this date or around here. I mean, if we want to go at it, it could be even further out that we break all-time highs. It could be October of 2024 if we were to hit 35 bars. And then it could also be, if we hit 40 bars, it could be March of 2025. And let's say for the first time ever, we actually get a longer iteration between highs. It could be maybe, let's say, 5 months more. Because, right, we've got 40 here, 35. Let's say it was 5 back or 5 forward instead of 5 backwards. What if it was 45? That would put us in August of 2025. And that's not when are we going to see the all-time high, like the end of the cycle. I mean, it could be. But what this is saying is when we're going to see the potential break of this all-time high. 45 seems like a long time to me. 27 seems like a short time to me. 32 is the average, but we could see, I mean, we could see really anywhere, in my opinion, from at the earliest, I guess, sure, let's say 27 to at the latest, which that would be February of 2024 to the latest. We could see something, you know, outside of our previous maximum. We're going to give it just a little bit. This is guessing. There's no real math to back this up, right? All the way in August 2025. And the reason I don't think that this is going to happen, is because it's just too long, man. It's too long of a bull market. I guess that's not a really good reason. I just call it a gut feeling. I don't think that we're going to do that. I think we're more likely going to do something in, if at the latest, I think it's going to be in early 2025, but more likely it's going to be somewhere in the middle of 2024, around the halving date, that we break out of previous all-time highs. And breaking out of previous all-time highs is not going to be something, I mean, it's going to be stupendous. It's going to be tremendous. But breaking out of it's just going to be breaking this level of 68,997. That's not like that's not like saying that in February to July of 2024 that we're going to be up at $1 million. That's not what I'm saying. Maybe by 2025 we could be, but we're probably only going to be breaking this high by that time. And what's nice, what gives me faith that we'll continue to rise past that time, is the fact that we have these iterations to kind of base it off of. So if we took the average of that, right, that's 32 bars. What's also nice about being around this range is we've got the halving potentially in February to June. And if it happened in February, that gives us 5 months of chilling. If it happens in March or April, that gives us 4 to 3 months of chilling, which I think meets the criteria. We don't even have to chill that long. We could move up immediately through the halving, but that's just not what that's not what's happened historically. So I think what is going to happen is we get our halving somewhere in February, March, April, May, or June. We chill for a little bit, maybe at the earliest in July, maybe, definitely either halfway. I would say what would that be? Would that be Q3? Yeah, Q3 or at the latest Q4 of 2024, we're going to break the all-time highs. Now we're in 2022, we're in Q4 of 2022. That sounds like a long ways away, but keep in mind, guys, while time-wise that's a long ways away, even if you buy now, even if we don't wait for the potential lower lows that we're looking for, at the current price, that's still a 255% on Bitcoin, which is arguably the safest asset in the entire world. You can buy and hold for 2 years and rest assured that you are probably going to get some good gains. Nothing that's going to hurt your portfolio, at least, In the coming months, maybe we get some stuff that's going to hurt your portfolio, maybe not. Who knows? That could have been the low. I've already listed reasons why I don't think that was the low, and listed reasons why I think we're going to go lower, just basing it off of time frames and stuff like that. But, I could be wrong. That could have been the low. But ultimately, regardless of that, I don't think we're going to be breaking our previous all-time highs until somewhere in 2024, probably the middle, if not the latter half of 2024. That's all I got. That's what I wanted to say. So you're not late to the party. You're still early. Take it as a chance that you're buying back in like these times over here, right? Because you essentially are on a price scale wise. And you can maybe not guarantee, but you can have a safe bet knowing that you got the halving happening around here. You've got a year out from the happening around here. So these are two bullish things going on, two bullish events based around the same event, but they're two bullish events. A year out from the halving has traditionally been bullish every time it's happened so far, and the halving itself tends to be chill, but leading to bullish rallies afterwards. And let's even actually look at that. Let's even look at that. Okay, so the first halving happened in November of 2012. How long did we rally after the halving happened? This is something else I wanted to do. I'm sorry, I meant to do this to the all-time high. Okay, so November, right? It was November 2012. Yeah, November 2012, all the way until the top. 12 bars. Took a year. Had a year of bullish price action afterwards. So we saw the halving, and for a whole year afterwards, we had a lot of upside. Not the entire time. There were a couple of months that were stagnant or still, whatever. That's okay though. The next one was July 9th, 2016. July 9th, 2016. So the halving happened here. We didn't find our top until 17 bars afterwards. Right? 2016? Yeah. 17 bars. And then May 11th, 2020, which happened right here. This time, unconventionally compared to the last two times, we did have a little drawback. We had a very long kind of boring, just boring people out of the markets. But we didn't really find our all-time high until 30 bars afterwards. So we had the halving happen, and each time it's been, over a year, to say the least. It's been over a year. So when the halving does happen, it's not time to sell by any means. It's, if anything, it's a good time to buy. Buy and hold. Just buy and hold. And let's just see on average what our price gains have been. I doubt we see the price gains that we saw in this cycle. That right there was 11,500%. I doubt we see that again. This one was from the halving date was 21,000. Oh my goodness, no, it was a little bit more than that. No, sorry, 3,100, 3,147. And then this one here from the bottom to the top, starting at the halving date, was 1,209. So could we see less returns? Yes. Yes, we totally could. Yes, I mean, definitely. We definitely can. And we might. We might. Could Bitcoin be, oh man, I gotta make this quick. Could Bitcoin be stalling out now to have a stupendous rally later? It could happen. It could happen. We could have another 11,000% rally. I don't think it's gonna happen, but it could happen. And I mean, to be completely fair, if the halving happens and around the halving let's just say we're around 45,000 for whatever reason, let's just say we're around the 45,000 and we go up for another year or so, July, like a little bit over a year, let's just say we go into January of 2026 or the end of 2025. If we went up even half of the last percentage, 600%, and I'm basing this off of just kind of putting it in the middle of this range here. We can go a little bit lower even. Let's be pessimistic. Let's be pessimistic and go 600% from there. Even if we took half, you know, I guess, okay, this has actually been less than half. So let's take less than half. Let's go to 500%. There we go. Let's be very pessimistic. So even if by 2024, by the halving date, because it's definitely going to happen by June of 2024, if by the halving date we're only at $30,000 and we have a 500% increase from there, that's going to put Bitcoin at a price of $202,000, okay? Which from current prices is over a 10x. And all you have to do is buy and wait. That's it. There's no secret to it. It's just patience. And this shit can test your patience. But that's still an impressive move for what is lackluster compared to the rest of the moves that we've seen. Let's even be more pessimistic. What would 100,000 get us? 221%. We went from 11,000 here to 3,000. Okay, 11,000 to 3,000. That's about 30%. 3,000 to 1,200. That's about let's just say 40%, whatever. So between 30 and 40% of 1,200, that would be, I mean, 30% of 1,200 is 400%. Which would actually put us all the way up here at 171,000. But I'm just that's at the lower echelons, man. That's like at the lower limits. If we're absolutely pessimistic on this thing, a 200% gain would put us above 100 grand. And if we break 100 grand, we break that psychological level of 100 grand. I doubt we're stopping there. I doubt that we're going to just turn around from there. Maybe we bounce off it for a second and scare people. But I would bet that we're going to go up pretty high. And where could we go? Where could we go? I mean, the 1618 right now is at $160,000. And if the price keeps going lower, if it goes to where I think we're going to go, potentially, the 1618 would be at $187,000. Maybe we don't go that low. Maybe we only go to like 16,000. And we're at 169,000. You know, we had a $69,000 top here. Could we go to 169,000 top out? It's possible. These lines, they might seem like foo-foo nonsense, but if you look from top to bottom, right? We literally topped off at the 1618 right there. Literally. Like, I couldn't have made that shit up if I wanted to. We could have gone from the top to the bottom here. You know, right here on this little cycle, this little rally. The 2272 literally tipped it. We found support on the 1272. This is actually pretty respectable. I like this. I like both of them. They both look good, whatever. They're both respected. They both can be respected. We go to this one over here. We take the top. Just to show you I'm not making this shit up, guys. This is TA at its finest. The 1618, we broke through it. We confirmed it as support. And then we went all the way up to the 2272 and found resistance. It's not as clean as the last one, but you can't deny it. We went above the 1618 both of the last two times. And then if we take the third time even, or the very first time, the very first all-time high, to the low, Bitcoin went at its 1618 and turned around. Found support on the 1272, which we're doing now, to be fair. And then it went all the way up to the 2272. This 2272 actually seems like a reoccurring region, not gonna lie. But at the least, we've broken out of the 1618 every time. And right now, with the current low, if that was the low, which I doubt, but if that was the low, if we go lower, notice how that 1618 only goes higher, right? You come up, it goes lower. If you come down, it goes higher. If that was the low, at a bare minimum, we're gonna break 160,000. We're gonna break 160,000, man. And I know whenever I was drawing my line earlier and I was saying if we were at 30,000 at a minimum, that puts us around 400,000. You know, we could be above this. If we're above $30,000, you know, again, then that number's only going to grow, guys. That number's only going to grow. Let's say by June or July, by the halving date, we're at $50,000. You know, that puts us above 200,000. I don't see, in my opinion, a scenario where Bitcoin will not be above $200,000 at a minimum during the next bull cycle. It can happen. It can happen. I can be wrong. I'm a novice. What do I know? But that's all I got to lay out for you. So before my computer dies here, you're probably asking why I haven't charged it. Maybe you'd be asking yourself that. I'm asking myself that, man. I don't know. Before we go, I just want to reiterate what I was saying. I don't think we found the bottom yet, because if that was the low, that would be a year and 8 months from the potential earliest date of the halving to happen. And traditionally, we don't do a year and 8 months. We do a year, give or take a month. And the last cycle, we actually did a year and 5 months. So a year and 8 months, to me, it just seems a little bit out of the question, especially whenever we're getting the weakest reads we've had in the RSI. That doesn't spell like we're going to have a shorter bear trend. I think we're going to have a longer bear trend, honestly. Maybe it's less than a year, right? Maybe the halving doesn't happen, or like the halving happens in February or May of 2024, but maybe we don't even get a bounce in February or May of 2023. Maybe it doesn't happen a year out. Maybe it happens in June or July of 2023 or August of 2023. Maybe this one's a little delayed. You know, it's been prompted sooner. Why can't it be prompted later? But if we're going to go with the assumption that it happens around a year, then that means that we have until probably February to June of next year to find the low. And if we were to do a year and 5 months, that would give us between November and January, November of this year and January of next year to find a low. So truthfully, we have November to June of next year on what, in my opinion, is a safe assumption to find the low. So that's November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. We have 1 to 8 months of potential time to find a low. I do think we'll find a low sooner than later, but anything can happen. That's when we're potentially looking to find the low. I don't know what the price is going to be. I have assumptions. If you followed this channel for a while, you know I think 14 to 16,000 is possible. But if that's not the low, whatever. I don't care what the price is. All I know, or all I really believe is it's going to come in the next month to 8 months. It's going to happen probably closer to a year out from the halving. Now, when we get to the halving, which is again in February or May of 2024. I know I keep using the same words over and over again, but I want to drive the points home, y'all. February to May of 2024. Over here, I'm going to have my line out real quick. Hopefully my laptop doesn't die on me. February to May of 2024. Right there. We're going to probably stall for a little bit. That's when the halving happens. We'll probably stall for a quarter of a year. Maybe more, maybe less, somewhere around there. But then we're going to start the second leg of the market. By this time, we're not going to be down here. By this time, you know, like we'll have had our bottom already, and we'll probably make our way up above $35,000. I bet by this time we'll be above 35,000, if not above, well above 30,000. I doubt we will be above our previous all-time highs. I doubt it. But it will probably happen when we break our previous all-time highs. It will probably happen if we were to take the average of any times that we've done that. 32 bars puts us at July. So it'll probably happen sometime in the middle to the end of 2024, somewhere in there. I doubt that it happens before the middle. It could, who knows, but somewhere in there. And then when we top out, it's probably not going to happen from the halving date, right, to, I mean, let's see. Oh, I don't have enough time, guys. but it's basically not going to happen for at least a year out. And the halving date is May, so that means it's not going to happen until we're not going to find our next top, the next bull cycle top, to the middle or the end of 2025. And that's just using previous market scenarios, previous market cycles as references. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. I hope you all stuck with me, but we're going to find the low in the next month to 8 months, main point, and we won't see Bitcoin break its highs until probably a year, or no, probably like 2 years. We probably won't see it break its high until 2 years from now, break its highs. And we won't see the end of the bull market until potentially 3 years from now, around there. That's all I got. I've wasted my battery. I would talk more, but man, I really don't have time. So if you like the video, leave a like. If you hate the video, leave a thumbs down. Leave me a comment as to why you hate the video. Maybe it's my face. Oh.